A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. Jesus said to the crowds, "This is how it is with the kingdom of God. It is as if a man were to scatter seed on the land and would sleep and rise, night and day, and the seed would sprout and grow, he knows not how. Of its own accord the land yields fruit. First the blade, then the ear, then the full grain in the ear. And when the grain is ripe, he wields the sickle at once, for the harvest has come." He said, "To what shall we compare the kingdom of God? Or what parable can we use for it? It is like a mustard seed, that when it is sown in the ground, is the smallest of all the seeds on the earth. But once it is sown, it springs up and becomes the largest of plants and puts forth large branches, so that the birds of the sky can dwell in its shade." With many such parables, he spoke the word to them as they were able to understand it. Without parables, he did not speak to them, but to his own disciples he explained everything in private. The Gospel of the Lord. The kingdom of God is as if a man were to scatter seed on the land and would sleep and rise night and day, and the seed would sprout and grow, he knows not how. See that the preaching of the gospel is compared to a farmer, a man who goes out and sows the seed, and then he sleeps. And then he rises. Significant that he sleeps. What keeps you up at night? The one who is able to sleep is the one who is able to trust, is able to surrender, is able to have said, "I've done the work I can do. I've planted what I could plant. And now, I'm going to let God do the rest." When I went to go visit Father Joseph Hammond, a priest of my own home parish, St. John Newman in Farragut, it was the last thing he told me. And I told him how I thanked God for him and for his priesthood and how he was a good priest. And he said, "We do our part, God does the rest. We do our part, God does the rest." We need to do our part. But we just need to do our part. We don't need to do God's part. We do our part, God does the rest. In order for God to do the rest, we have to sleep. We have to trust enough to go to bed and just let it all fall away. And that is what the church gives us in the divine office. The divine office of the priests are promised to pray, the religious are promised to pray, that even after the Second Vatican Council, all the faithful are encouraged to pray, this liturgy of the hours. And in the evening, there's a night prayer called Compline, and that's where you make an examination of conscience, and it's, "Now you may let your servant go in peace. Your word has been fulfilled." It's the canticle there of Simeon, who sees Christ. He says, "Now you can let your servant go in peace. Your word has been fulfilled." When we go to bed, when we go to sleep, we say, "Lord, now you let your servant go in peace." And we let go of this world. We let it slip away. It's a little bit of actually a practice of death, a holy death. We make our examination of conscience. We're sorry for these things. We're also grateful for so many other things. And then we just let it all slip away. Pope John the 23rd, St. John the 23rd, when he was the Pope, he was known to say at night, "Lord, it's your church. Take care of her. I'm going to bed." Are we able to go to bed? Are we able to walk away? Are we able to stop when it's quitting time? we're able to end and say, that will be something for tomorrow. We do our part, God does the rest. The man scattered seed in the land, and he would sleep. And then he would rise. And then he would sleep. And then he would rise. And it says night and day. And that is so much of an indicators of where we are and what our heart is revealing to us. Sleeping is at night, and rising is day, in this kind of pattern. And so if we are rising at night and sleeping in the day, in a certain sense, right? What does it say about how we're doing? And so allow these things to be indicators. And these are the things that we are supposed to bring to God in our prayer life. Those things that keep us up at night, Lord, I surrender myself to you. Take care of everything. Lord, I entrust this to you. I'm putting this into your sacred heart. You are God. You are all-powerful. You can take care of this situation, this person, this event. And I'm going to walk away. I'm going to sleep. I'm going to let the world fall away at night and rest in peace until I rise again the next day. Thanks be to God for another day. So this is how the kingdom of God works. And of its own accord, the land yields fruit. Our lives will just yield fruit. Our hearts will just yield fruit of its own accord. We know not how. Things will just start to happen. If we have faith and hope and love, faith and hope and love, this is it. If we have faith and hope and love, that God will take care of it. Of its own accord, the land will yield fruit. First the blade, then the ear, then the full grain of the ear. First is the blade. In a certain sense, that's what has been called the natural law, the book of nature. And then there's the ear, and that's the Mosaic law. And then the full grain in the ear, and that's the law of Christ. It's the growth, of this truth that is within us. And so when the grain is ripe, he wields the sickle at once, for the harvest has come. And he receives that fruit from the land, from his heart, the fruits of the Spirit, with gratitude. We sow in tears, we sow, and we make an act of faith. We put the seed into soil and say, I'm going to leave that there. And I believe it's going to grow. So let us live the kingdom of God. For this is how it is with the kingdom of God. It is as if a man were to scatter seed, faith, hope, and love, on the land, in his heart, in those situations that it needs to go. And then would sleep and rise, night and day. The seed would sprout and grow. He knows not how. Of its own accord, the land yields fruit. When the grain is ripe, he wields the sickle at once, for the harvest has come. Let our hearts be places where there is much fruit. Fruit that will last. Fruits of the Spirit that are love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, long-suffering, faith, mildness, chastity, continence. These are the fruits of the Spirit. We sow in faith, hope, and love, and reap from the Spirit's gifts.